Hello everyone, just my hands and voice for you in this one today as I take you through the process of making my animal print collection in Fimo polymer clay. So we're starting off with Sahara as a colour shade. I've already rolled out my clay on the pasta machine at the thickness level 2, and now it's time to apply this leopard print silkscreen. Got my clay on a little piece of baking parchment just so I can set it off to the side after the printing is done. So let's lay that screen nicely down there. We want to make sure it's adhered all the way along. And a rolling pin really does help to do this. You can apply nice even pressure. Make sure to do so firmly, but not so much that you're going to mark the clay or distort that nice smoothness we achieved with the pasta machine. Next, it's time for the paint. So we're starting with black. I mean, all the paint I'm using in this is black and it's all the same graduate acrylic. The paint I will be scooping out of this little tiny jam jar is just the off scrapings from other silkscreen projects and other painting projects. So just pop a little bit at the top there. You don't need a massive amount, but we've got a decent line to scrape off the paint back into the pot there so that we have as little waste as possible. Next, we want to take our scraper and drag it all the way down and in different directions as well, just to make sure that we've got a really good print on as much of that clay as possible. I'm holding my tool at about a 45-degree angle, again applying firm pressure but not so much as to distort the polymer clay underneath. I've scraped my tool off and now comes the fun part, the reveal of the pattern. Look at that, lovely, crisp, nothing I could ever achieve with hand painting alone. So as we've got it on the baking parchment, we can set it aside for the paint to dry. And move on to the next one. So we've got white here, and we're going to do black paint on this white polymer clay. I won't show you it all again, the fun part. And that's the cow print done. And we've got the zebra as well. What I'm doing with the silk screens off camera is I'm putting them in a bowl of water. You don't want to let your paint dry onto the silk screen because it will clog up those tiny little holes. So I'm going to take this dotting tool now and some brown paint and apply some hand painted details to this leopard print. I really feel like it just elevates the project, that just that little bit. I won't make you sit through the whole thing. That would not be kind to you. So I'm going to speed up a portion of it now in a minute. But we're just carefully going along, applying a tiny little bit of paint to each of those little circles. And here we go. That's the reveal of that for you there. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of that off camera, just so you don't have to sit through it. And there it is. Now it's time to cut out the little shapes, and that means taking it off this piece of baking paper. I find it easier to peel it away from the back, as opposed to try and take the clay off the paper. Like when you work with Jesmonite, you want to take the mould away from the Jesmonites, as opposed to taking the Jesmonite away from the mould. Just helps to not distort it at all. For this one, there we go, she's happy. We're going to cut out some nice squares here. I like these ones with the rounded corners, they're very nice. And I've got a heart cutter off camera as well, so that I can get the most out of this slab as I possibly can. So we're going to press down on all four corners at once so that we get a nice clean shape. And up it pops. And I've got a baby wipe to the side as well to clean off that paint and clay from the cutter as I go. You don't want to muddy up the edges of your shapes by having paint from the last cut. So as I remember it, I only get one pair of large earrings from this slab. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to think ahead enough to be able to roll the clay out better. I do get a nice amount of studs out of it, but only one pair of large, but that's fine. So now we're going to do the stud toppers, matching the shape that we've already cut. And there we go. Lovely jubbly. Yeah, I'm really trying to get that second pair of large out, but it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. So we're going to go in with the heart. I will give you a little close up there. There we go. I like this one. It's cute. It's not too big, but it's big enough to make a difference. If that's what I'm trying to say, I'm not really too sure. I just like a heart. So I went ahead there and I think I got six pairs of heart studs out of that one. Time to peel the clay away and reveal the shapes that we've got. I will be keeping this clay, the offcuts. Acrylic paint does mix into polymer clay, so it won't be the same colour ever again, but I can get it back to a nice smooth colour. It'll just be a shade or two darker. I don't enjoy drilling polymer clay after I've baked it, so I prefer to cut the holes with this tiny teeny tool before it goes in the oven. I'm pretty sure that it's about 1.5 millimeters in diameter, maybe 2. Either way, it's very small. So I'm just giving that another clean as well. Make sure it's not too going to dirty up my lovely shapes and things. And there we go with the last one. Now it's time to transfer. So I've got a baking tray off to the side with a sheet of parchment in the middle, in the bottom of it. And I'm going to take my leaf blade there and carefully, keeping my fingers away from the sharp edge, I'm going to slide it quickly and confidently underneath the shape. And that should release it nicely as it has done. I'll show you this a few more times. So nice and confidently, I'm going in at a tiny bit of an angle there to release it from the glass cutting board. When you get confident, you can try and do 2 at a time. She's a professional woman. Okay. Away we go. No, that is 8 pairs of studs. 8 hearts I managed to get, so 4 pairs of studs, which is good. So in a moment, I will show you the whole tray before it goes into the oven. There we go. So I've done circles and arches as well in the other shapes. This will go into the oven for about 30 minutes at 120 degrees. Once they have cooled down completely, this is the next day now, I will resin top coat them. As you can see on the screen, I was a naughty girl on this day. I am wearing a respirator mask. This is still a resin product, and I don't want to be breathing in those fumes. I've got my studio well ventilated at this point, and I also have the mask on. I should be wearing gloves. So I'm going in with my silicone tool here to spread that resin around, get in a nice top coat. I've been doing this for a couple of years now at this point, so I seem to be quite skilled at taking the resin right to the edge of the polymer clay without it actually flooding over. I do, of course, occasionally have some mishaps. Happens quite a lot with the sharp angles, especially in the top of the hearts. I occasionally get a drip that I don't notice until after the resin has cured. Here we go. Just going all over those shapes, making sure that we've got nice even coverage. We've got a decent amount of resin. to make a lovely dome. This is also why I roll my clay out at the number 2 instead of the number 1 thickness. If I'm going to be top coating with resin, I don't want them to be too heavy. I find that number 3 is difficult to work with. Number 1 makes them too thick. But number 2 is quite a nice middle ground. So this will go under my UV lamp now. I'll cure that for 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. And I've done that with all of them. Now it's time to get my little woolly attachment on the edge of my Dremel, which is fantastic for sanding off those edges. I like to do it this way round, sanding after they've been UV resin top coated, just to make doubly sure that you're not getting any dust into that paint. I have found a couple of times with a couple of different techniques that I use to apply paint to polymer clay that the paint doesn't fully dry in the oven, which can be annoying, but as long as you do it this way around, you should be pretty good. I am also wearing my respirator once again for this process. Sanding polymer clay can kick up quite a lot of dust, and as polymer clay is technically a form of plastic, you don't really want that inside you. Here I am, just going around. Another benefit to using this little woolly tool is that if you do accidentally touch your fingers or something with it, you're not going to cause yourself any harm because it's so soft. But it's enough to get any kind of stray dirt or those edges off of polymer clay. So here he is, ready to have a stud glued onto the back. So I'll go ahead off camera, sand the rest of those pieces, and we'll be back in just a sec to glue the studs on. So here I am using a gel super glue to glue those studs on. Sorry I didn't get very much footage of that one, but I couldn't seem to figure out a camera angle where my hand wasn't blocking the view most of the time. So we're going to go back in with the UV resin. This is again another day. This process takes probably about 3 days between, because you want to leave the polymer clay overnight to cool after baking. And then you want to leave it overnight again to let that super glue properly set. And we're just going to apply a little tiny bit with our silicone tool to the back of these earrings, just to make sure that it's a nice smooth surface when it's up against the skin of the ear. You don't want anything that's going to be too irritable. And we're just going to very carefully go around. You will note I remembered to be good this day and I put gloves on. Hooray! So under the lamp that went for another 300 seconds. So here's the pot of studs that I've got, and then we've got the pot of large earrings here that needs to be assembled. So for those ones, I'm just going to use an 8mm jump ring with a pair of pliers in each hand, just to make sure that I can open the jump ring nice and easily. Looks like we're starting with the cow print. I like a nice simple black and white. It goes with everything. They're nice statement earrings that you can wear all the time. So here we go. Find that tiny little hole that we punched before we baked. Pop those on and close up that ring. Okay, that's one done. I'll do the other one again. And here we go. Lovely jubbly. So I went ahead and finished the assembly off screen for you there. And now it's time to put them on these card backings. I like to use hammered card for my backing cards for the earrings. That little bit of texture just looks nice to me. I've got them in 3 different colours so that you can kind of see them on different colour backings. Let's do the studs as well. I hand make all of my earring backing cards just to make sure that they can be the exact size that I want them to be. And I can also save a little bit of money as well. Go, butterfly backs going on the back. And there we go. And that's the full collection for you guys. Usually I've got some cow print heart studs as well, which I will try and get restocked for you as well. But these are available on my website right now. So if you'd like to purchase some, please do pop along to the link is in the description. Thank you very much for joining me today. All the tools and everything that I've used, I will try and link down in the description. I do apologise if something is not linked that I've used. If you'd like to know what it is, please do leave me a comment. Now is a perfect time to whack that thumbs up button as well if you've enjoyed this, just to let the algorithm know that you'd like to see more things like this, or more videos from me as it is. So thank you very much for joining me today. All my links are down in the description once again, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!